Did you know that the majority of people who use one of 4chan's most famous memes are doing so while completely misunderstanding it? Let's talk about it. Welcome to the Meme Graveyard, a show where we're going to dig up and discuss ancient memes, and for our maiden voyage, I figured there was no better place to start than with one of 4chan's most famous faces, the Trollface. You know him, you love him, you probably don't actually love him because the most obnoxious people on the internet are still using him to this day, but most of those people don't actually get what the meme means. Allow me to explain. A lot of the most famous early memes just originated from people who were just doodling around in MS Paint and then posting their creations on image boards. It's how we got Rage Comics, it's how we got Poland Ball, it's how we got Epic Fail Guy, and it's how we got the Trollface. It's actually kind of a rarity to know what the original artist of an old meme is, but we know the original Trollface guy. It's this guy, Carlson Ramirez. That's the only picture I can find of him, and it's from 9gag, so I'll give it a 3 out of 10 on believability. He originally posted it on September 19th, 2008, posted it to DeviantArt and 4chan. On the latter, it immediately blew up and became a favorite because, let's be honest, the Trollface was pretty much always destined to be an evergreen meme. But the original Trollface was not posted as a single image like we're used to seeing it now, it was actually part of a comic. And before we get to the comic, I feel like it's worth talking about the actual definition of trolling, like the original definition of trolling, because the word's been so watered down in the last few decades that it barely means what it used to anymore. Trolling involves either espousing an opinion that you don't actually believe in, or feigning ignorance of something that you actually do understand in order to wind someone up online. So if you're posting something that you legitimately believe, even if you are doing it to make someone upset, you're not trolling. For a modern example of classic old-school internet trolling, we have the famous Twitter Smooth Shark thread. In this thread, this artist, Brandon Reese, strung along a bunch of people who were certain they were smarter than him by doubling and tripling down on the idea that sharks have smooth skin. They don't, and he knows that, but he just kept on going with it, and it kept on getting funnier every time. The troll was so good that somebody posted the Twitter thread to Tumblr, and he was able to keep the troll going on Tumblr. To this day, actually, the term smooth shark is shorthand for trolling on Tumblr. So, you know, if someone racist is online and posts something racist and then gets called out for being racist, and then their response is, aha, but you have actually been trolled epically, my good. No, they're just racist. And for some reason so insecure about their racism that they have to cover it up by pretending they're a troll. And that brings us to the original Trollface comic seen here. Yes, I did have to blur out a slur because it was late 2000s 4chan, so that was gonna happen sometimes. And if you read the comic, you'll quickly understand what I meant earlier about people not understanding the meme they were using, because the entire point of the comic is that this guy doesn't actually exist. When someone online posts something wrong or bad or incendiary and gets called out for it and says that they were just trolling, in fact, they're this guy. They're lying. See, people who do trolling online, like old school trolling online, are like magicians. They don't give up their secrets so easily. Reese never gave up the act while doing the smooth shark thing, because he knew that the longer it kept going, the funnier it would be. Those who got the joke, and the more people who didn't get the joke, the funnier it would be. If he had come out 3 minutes in and gone, "You have all been bamboozled," it wouldn't have been funny, and it wouldn't have been a legendary post. So if you ever see some loser online posting nonsense while throwing around troll faces, just remember, their own meme is calling them a fraud. Hey, you want to know how to make the least interesting 37-year-old you know on the internet really, really mad? That's right, seethe. Welcome back to the Meme Graveyard, where we dig up and discuss ancient memes, and oh, if only this meme needed to be dug up, because I literally saw a TikTok about it earlier today. We're talking about the internet's least favorite mind virus, the game. Not the rapper. We'd prefer the rapper. For any sweet summer children out there who are unaware of what I'm talking about, I'm so sorry, I wish I was you. There are 3 generally accepted rules to the game. Rule number 1, you and everyone else in the world are playing the game, whether you want to or not. Rule number 2, if you ever think about the game, you lose. Definitionally, every single person watching this video, including myself, has then lost the game. And rule number 3, if you do lose the game, you are supposed to announce that you did so that others can lose the game with you. This is the most bendable of the rules. I don't think a lot of people follow it anymore, but feel free to use the comments section here to vent, I guess, if you want. So basically, you remember when people were doing this to people? It's basically the verbal or written equivalent of that, which also hasn't been funny or interesting since 2008. Probably before 2008, actually. The actual origins of the game are not known, which isn't surprising because it's the meme equivalent of an abstract concept, but the origins are very clearly in ironic processing, which is the process by which you tell someone not to think of something, like a pink elephant, and then they think of a pink elephant. As you've seen from the backgrounds here, there's actually a losethegame.net, which has way more information on the game than I can give you in this one video, and also has this very handy map of everyone who's visited the site before and lost the game that looks like it's from Plague Inc. You'll notice, no losses in Madagascar. The site lists a bunch of different phenomenon that's similar to the game, one of the most notable being in 1969 when an article was written about a game played in England called Finchley Central. The aim of the game is pretty simple. People just take turns naming stations on the London Underground, and then whoever names Finchley Central first is the winner. It's an ironic game, obviously, because you have to work to keep it going, otherwise you could just win on the first move. It was modified in 1976, though, so whoever thought of Finchley Central first loses. That's right, it's a game that just by thinking of the name of, you've already lost. At some point over the years, this Calvin balled its way into turning into the modern idea of the game. The first online mention of the game that anyone's been able to find is this post from aardvark.dj in 2002. And I really just want to highlight this specific comment underneath that post. Darn, I just lost the game. Is that a Schoolhouse Rock reference? Whatever. By the way, I'm in Massachusetts, and we say I lost the game. Also, I know who started the game, and when it was started. But I'm gonna tell you this, you don't want to know. You really don't want to know. If you really want to know, then email me at teddybear1133@yahoo.com. But trust me, you will regret it. When someone knows how the game started, they're put into misery for the rest of their now cursed lives. But if you're desperate, it's my duty to tell you. But be warned. Now, in the interest of research for this video, and because I'm a 35-year-old man who makes meme videos on the internet and have nothing to live for, I did email teddybear1133 asking for this coveted information. I even pulled out my old Yahoo email address from the 2000s for authenticity, but the email got bounced. I guess the curse got to him. Given the inherently mimetic nature of the game, it's not surprising that shortly after that, places like 4chan and a bunch of different forums picked it up and kind of kept spreading it. It's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, unfortunately, and the rest is history. It was a really big way to troll on 4chan for a really long time. Something Awful actually banned discussion of it. The one good thing Lowtax ever did. That's a 1 in a yes column for Lowtax. He had like 14,000 in the no column, so he needed something, man. And there is actually one piece of good news. Back in 2008, XKCD made a comic that was anti-mind virus, declaring that anyone who reads the comic is a winner. You've won the game now that you've seen this. So remember, if a chronically unfunny millennial on Twitter or TikTok tries to tell you that you lost the game, no gods, no masters. You don't have to play. Or you can repost this video and just make all your friends upset. I'm not gonna stop you. Can you name the old meme that was so iconic they made an award-winning feature film out of it? Let's talk about it. Welcome back to the Meme Graveyard, where we dig up and discuss ancient memes. Today, safety not guaranteed. Now, I could read you this meme, or I could let the late great voiceover trailer maestro Don LaFontaine do it for me. I think that's more fun.
Wanted somebody to go back in time with me. This is not a joke. You'll get paid after we return. Must bring your own weapons. Safety not guaranteed. I have only done this once before.
This strange classified ad actually had some real-world popularity before it became an internet meme. It's originally from the September-October 1997 edition of Backwoods Home Magazine, which was a modestly popular quarterly publication that talked about self-reliant country living. They didn't have enough classified ads for that issue and made up some joke ads. And a meme was born. Although the meme itself depends very heavily on the idea that we don't know who actually wrote the ad because they're a mysterious time traveler, we actually do know who wrote it. It was the magazine's senior editor, John Silveira. And in 2010, he wrote this piece in the magazine talking about the fallout from the ad. I recommend giving it a read. It's a fascinating little look at the just pure amount of huge coverage and thousands of responses that he got and continued to get from the ad. My personal favorite line is here where he says some guy with a bad mullet ran the ad as though it was his, which that's not what happened exactly. He's a boomer. You gotta let him go on that one. And that brings us to YTMND, which is where Safety Not Guaranteed went from a weird little cultural phenomenon to an actual internet meme in October of 2005. The original YTMND was posted then, and it got over 1.5 million views, which doesn't sound very impressive nowadays, because, we live in the world where TikToks randomly go off for 10 million every day. But you have to understand that getting 1.5 million views on a YTMND is like getting a 100 million view YouTube video now. It's the 20th most viewed YTMND of all time. So what makes the meme so memorable? Well, Axel von Bach, the original poster, did add a couple things. First, the dude with the mullet, obviously. But also the song Push It to the Limit, which is the song from Scarface. I don't know why, but it works really well. Also, they blurred out the P.O. box for some reason. I don't know why. It's 322. Even back then, it wasn't that hard to find the original ad. Maybe that made it more mysterious and got it more views. Now, I don't know the original source for this guy's picture. I don't know if anyone actually knows who the guy is. But on YTMND, he was originally known as the Time Traveler. And that site loved him. He was one of the absolute favorite characters of YTMND. There were tons of different Safety Not Guaranteed YTMNDs made, with him photoshopped into random historical events. Some intrepid users claim to have found actual old pictures of the Time Traveler from the Civil War era and other times. Some people called a phone number that they claimed was associated with the P.O. box and said that they got mysterious messages or were told never to call the number again. It's like an ARG, except even less real than most ARGs. And it even spawned a meme within a meme where the Time Traveler was actually the one who went back in time and created PTKFGS, which was a YTMND-based alternate reality version of YTMND. I don't have enough time in this video to talk about PTKFGS. Maybe I'll make another video on that at some point. And then in 2012, someone decided to make a whole movie out of the meme. I don't know if this movie's very well remembered 12 years later, but it was actually kind of a big deal at the time, because it was a really tiny budget movie that did really, really well. It only had a $750,000 budget, it had a pretty big leading lady in Aubrey Plaza, and it went to Sundance, and won a bunch of awards. Like, granted, no Oscars or anything, but it's a meme movie. The guy who no one had ever heard of who directed it went on to write and direct Jurassic World. So legitimately, this little classified ad shitpost from a libertarian magazine might be one of the most influential memes of all time. Truly a phenomenon only explainable through time travel. Have you seen this video of the man who invented the Rickroll? Because he didn't. His name is Sean Cotter, and he's been lying to the internet for over a decade. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to the Meme Graveyard, where we dig up and discuss ancient memes. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the older cousin of the Rickroll, the Duckroll, and then get into why Sean Cotter's story about inventing the Rickroll is, at best, a willful misinterpretation of the actual history of the meme, and at worst, just completely made up. In that video that I mentioned, Cotter calls the Duckroll a common meme on the internet, which is incorrect, so that's strike one for him. In fact, compared to a lot of 4chan memes, Duckroll was really kind of a flash in the pan, and it's really only remembered because the Rickroll came after it. The history of the meme is pretty simple. Moot added a word filter to B that changed the word egg into the word duck, so egg roll became duckroll, and somebody made a picture of a duck roll. People began doing bait and switches where they started up a Duckroll thread and then posted the link to that thread in a bunch of other threads, tricking people into going into the Duckroll thread. Boom, bait and switch, you got a lot of people mad at you. Classic. The first known duck rolls on 4chan took place in late 2006, only a couple months before the first Rickrolls took place, and outside of 4chan, the meme never really got that much traction. There were a couple of YTMNDs posted in January of 2007, none of them really got any popularity, and a couple of YouTube videos with a duck roll picture and random songs in the background. One of those does have 1.1 million views, but that's because it's the one that's on the Know Your Meme page. It did not have that many views in 2007. This just was not a big meme outside of 4chan. And that brings us to the Rickroll. Now, Cotter's story on this has remained very consistent, going all the way back to this AMA from 13 years ago. Cotter's story is that he was in Korea in 2007 and discovered the music video for Never Gonna Give You Up. He thought the music video was so ridiculous that he had to make it into a meme. And so with direct inspiration from the Duckroll meme, he posted a YouTube video called You Have Been Rickrolled to YouTube on May 15th, 2007, started spamming the link to it everywhere, and it was an overnight smash success. 20k views in its first night, 250k views in its first week. And if you were to read the Wikipedia or the Know Your Meme Rickrolling pages, you'd assume his story was right because they both corroborate it. But the Wikipedia's source is Cotter himself, and the Know Your Meme page's source is the Wikipedia page. So let's dive a little deeper into that. One thing that's not up for debate is that Cotter did post on May 15th, 2007, the first Rickrolled video to YouTube that got really popular, which is a lot of qualifiers, and you'll see why we need them later, because past that, the story begins to fall apart. The problems with Cotter's story are that of timeline and that of scale, neither of which really match what he says. You might think that since it came from 4chan, Rickrolling started on the famous random board B, but it actually started on the video games board V. And the thing about V is that there's an archival service online that has every single thread from V from 2006 to 2008 archived. So we can go look at the history of Rickrolling firsthand if we want and check our work. On March 29th, 2007, the first trailer for Grand Theft Auto 4 was released, and it broke the internet. Literally, websites were going down because so many people wanted to see this trailer. Naturally, on V, the intrepid trolls decided to have a little bait-and-switch fun and started posting a bunch of fake YouTube links to trick people into watching funny YouTube videos instead of the actual trailer. Among those many posts was this, the first ever Rickroll. The first thread only got 10 replies, but it was the troll that got the most attention, so it was reposted again on V 6 more times throughout the day. Now, those of you with working eyes and ears may have noticed that this is a full 6 weeks before Cotter's version of the story starts, and you may be wondering how on earth his video is being linked there before it's even been posted. Well, this is the first Rickroll video. It's just a basic upload of the song from 2006 by user TheFishman75. This Internet Archive screen grab is from April 16th, 2007, so 2 weeks after the first Rickroll was posted, and you'll notice it only has 75k views, and not the 250k that was being claimed by Cotter, and most of those views were probably from people who were just, looking for the song in late 2006 and early 2007. Yeah, the Rickroll wasn't actually a big overnight smash success. It was a meme that took weeks to build up momentum, and then finally hit success about a month and a half later. Weirdly enough, both Wikipedia and Know Your Meme acknowledged the timeline issue there, that April Rickrolls were happening despite that not fitting Cotter's story. Neither of them go in depth on it, obviously. And Wikipedia even has some blatantly wrong information here, talking about how April Fool's Day 07 was some huge day for Rickrolling on 4chan. It was not. That was 2 days after the meme was born. There were 3 Rickrolls posted to V on that day, and the meme had not crossed over to B yet. B was dealing with its own problems on April Fool's Day 07. I'm not going to elaborate. It wasn't even called a Rickroll at first. It took about a week, about April 5th, before people were posting it frequently enough on V for people to even acknowledge it as a meme, and about a week after that before somebody finally coined the term Rickroll for it. And remember how I put in that qualifier about how Cotter uploaded the first popular video that mentioned Rickrolls in the title and description? That qualifier was there because there's a 0% chance that he uploaded the first YouTube video that mentioned Rickroll in the title and description. See, by the end of April, the Rickroll actually had started to spread to the other boards of 4chan and to other websites, and everyone on 4chan had memorized this URL. They knew it was the Rickroll URL. Naturally, people just started re-uploading the video to YouTube themselves so that they could have a new URL to Rickroll people with. There were at least a dozen of these threads on V in the weeks coming up to Cotter's video being uploaded, and obviously none of these videos are online anymore because they were all from 2007, so, accounts get deleted, people delete their old videos, and just general copyright strikes mean none of them are up anymore. But I don't believe for a second that absolutely 0 of these videos that were uploaded specifically for the purpose of Rickrolling people mentioned Rickrolling. See, what actually happened is that Cotter uploaded his video, which was one of many, on May 15th, and then posted the link to it on May 16th and 17th for the first 2 times. And you can see the thread here from the 17th, where people are complaining on V that Rickrolling has already gone too mainstream and had already spread to game FAQs and other gaming forums. 3 days after that, Family Guy premiered the episode Meet the Quagmires, which featured Brian singing the then-forgotten 80s hit, Never Gonna Give You Up, leading to a flood of people on the internet looking up the song. And a combination of that Family Guy boost along with the already growing popularity of the meme, along with a little bit of algorithm luck, ended up leading to a domino effect where Cotter's video ended up being the de facto video for Rickrolling for years to come. But saying all that's nowhere near as punchy as saying you invented the Rickroll, now is it? And the last question to ask is Cotter even the one who actually posted the original Rickroll to V? Now, the post was anonymous, so we can't know, we'll never know, and honestly, I'm really not that interested in knowing. We can't prove it wasn't, but if you really are the guy who invented the Rickroll, why tell such a blatantly false version of the real story? Because everything else about his story is false. He didn't post the first, the second, or even the 10th Rickroll video. It wasn't an internet sensation overnight. It wasn't even called the Rickroll at first. But that's the story he's been squeezing minor internet celebrity out of for the last 15 years. And it's a strategy that can work, at least until some weirdo on the internet who was actually there decides to check your work. A lot of stuff from the 2000s was painfully unfunny, and today we're going to look at one of the least well-remembered relics of the language from the era. Welcome back to the Meme Graveyard, where we dig up and discuss ancient memes. Today we are herpin' and we are derpin'. This episode is going to cause me physical actual pain. As you can with most unfunny things from the 2000s, you can blame the word derp on Matt Stone and Trey Parker, the South Park guys. The first known usage of the word came from the movie Basketball, which the two of them starred in. Now, I'm not a big movie guy, so I was actually unaware until now that this movie was written by David Zucker. You know, of the Zucker brothers? I don't know how you go from writing Airplane to this in under 20 years, but my god, he pulled it off. According to Zucker's Wikipedia page, the only non-comedic movie he ever worked on was something called Phone Booth, but I would argue that this definitely qualifies as non-comedic as well. I can't even actually show you the scene that the word derp was coined during, because it features the two of them rifling through and smelling the contents of an old woman's underwear drawer. Comedy! Zucker probably didn't actually write the word derp into the script though. The movie was largely improvised, so Stone probably just said it unscripted. But apparently Stone and Parker really loved the word because it started showing up in South Park relentlessly, up to and including a whole character named after it. Given that the user bases of places like Something Awful, 4chan, and YTMND were chock full of South Park fans back then, it's not really surprising that the meme vernacular quickly expanded itself to include the word derp really, really heavily. The first big usage of it came from this: da derp de derp da teedly derp de derp de dum. I don't know, man. It's a fake Rob Schneider trailer from a South Park episode. That trailer specifically inspired a whole bunch of YTMND posts in 2004, and shortly after that, people on 4chan realized that you could just throw the word derp onto anyone who was looking weird or silly or whatever, and so the internet was flooded immediately with a zillion derp memes. Something Awful at that point had already coined the phrase Herp Derp, so derp eventually turned into Herp Derp, and that's where you got all that. And if this all seems very cringe to you, then yeah, this is pretty much all the comedy you got in the 2000s. It was either weird noises or homophobia. Terrible decade. Garbage can of a decade. The most famous instances of derp probably came from Rage comics, where all the dudes were named Derp and all the ladies were named Derpina. There was even a Rage Comics character specifically named Herp Derp, this guy, and Know Your Meme on their page for this also says that his name is Herp Derp, which continues my eternal beef with Know Your Meme, because no, nobody actually called him that. That spelling came from one Reddit thread where the person misspelled it. This is why you never listen to Reddit users. And yeah, after that, the word just kinda stuck around for an eternity. You probably remember Derpy Hooves from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. There was a pretty famous Firefox extension that turned every YouTube comment section into nothing but Herp Derps. There was a hacker named Derp Trolling who did a bunch of DDoS attacks on gaming servers and then went to prison in 2018. If I listed every single instance of derp on the internet, this video would be 2 hours long. The real endgame of the derp phenomenon came when Reddit, Twitch, DeviantArt, a bunch of websites came together to form the Digital Ecologies Research Partnership, which claimed to be offering the data of its users to any researchers who wanted to use them. God, you remember FARC? Yeah, neither do I. Now, I'm not 100% sure if this was just an elaborate joke or if it actually was meant to foster in research studies, but I looked around and I could not find any studies that were created using any data from this. If they do exist out there, I couldn't find them. What I did find is the funniest thing I've ever seen, which is this Reddit post by a GamerGator complaining that the DERP was a feminist SJW conspiracy meant to push them off the internet and silence them, which, man, wish that had worked. Derp indeed, man, what the hell. In 2006, a copypasta on 4chan got a man arrested and also gave us maybe the first meme ever made that was coined by the FBI. It's an obscure one though. I'm willing to bet that even the most hardcore meme people in my audience aren't going to remember this one. Welcome back to the Meme Graveyard, where we dig up and discuss ancient memes. Today, Don't Mess with Football, a story of a man who got banned, and the now long-forgotten meme that spawned from that. Side note, I don't think I've heard anyone use the term banned in about 15 years, so that's kind of an ancient meme on its own. It's kind of like getting banned, but in real life, by government agencies. Also, for those who know, yes, I am technically using the term in the wrong context. This is the best chance I'm ever going to get to talk about it, okay? Anyway, you know what a copypasta is. It's a post that somebody made online that was sufficiently weird, funny, cringy, or interesting enough to garner a lot of attention. People start saving that post and posting it themselves elsewhere, sometimes spamming it because they think it's really funny. Some famous copypastas you may be familiar with are Katie, the Penguin of Doom, How is Babby Formed, and of course, to be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to understand Rick and Morty. Copypastas come in two forms. The first is the more legit kind of copypasta, where there was actually a post made that people liked, and a bunch of people saved it and started posting it everywhere. The second type is the forced copypasta, where someone has an idea, and then they post it, and then they post it again, and again, and again, and again, spamming it, trying to make it into a thing. This post that we're talking about today is one of the latter cases, and the fact that he was the only one doing it for the most part got him in a lot of trouble. This is the first instance of the post from September 18th, 2006. I'm not going to read this out loud. You can pause to read it if you'd like. TLDR, they're saying they're going to do the same thing Bane did to the stadium in The Dark Knight Rises, except in real life. Not really the sort of thing you should post on the internet, even as a joke. But the first instance of the post didn't really get all that much of a reaction. It got 22 comments, which... that's not a lot for B in 2006, and the vast majority of them were either reposting the OP with joke lines added, like one person took Churning Japanese by the Vapors and just changed the content of that into those lyrics, and then the first picture in the thread was a hot cosplayer apparently, and everyone else is just arguing about that for the thread. Not that you'd expect panic in the streets or anything from B, but it was a pretty tepid response even by their standards. But that wasn't about to dissuade our original poster, who kept posting it again and again and again, both on 4chan and on other websites, desperately hoping it was going to get noticed. And it got noticed! On October 20th, about a month after the first post was made, 22-year-old Wisconsinite Jake Brom submitted to the authorities at the grocery store that he worked at, after legitimate government investigations had been put into the post. And he is, as far as I know, the first person to have ever gotten in public legal trouble over a 4chan post. According to another channer, as soon as the story started getting legitimate media attention, Brom called it the most epic win ever, and supposedly, when the authorities approached him in the grocery store, he dropped his clipboard and screamed, "Yes!" Keep in mind, this is the same sort of guy who, at the same time as this, was posting a blog about his, eggplant strangling habits, if you know what I mean. Not posting a screen cap of that blog. This guy's 40 now, what do you think he's like? He ended up getting 6 months in prison and a $27,000 fine, but the story didn't quite end there, because on an interview with WDBJ7 News in Virginia, FBI agent Les Weiser had this to say: "For Mr. Brom, this is the big league. Don't mess with football. And this coming Sunday, the NFL referees won't be the only one wearing stripes." Now, an FBI agent saying, "Don't mess with football," is not only the most toxically American thing that's ever happened, but it was pretty obvious instant meme bait, and B took that bait really quickly. And this is a special meme for this show, because this is the first meme I'm ever going to talk about that is more or less lost meme media, because it barely exists on the internet anymore. The footprint that it left is almost completely non-existent now. You can probably guess that it doesn't have a Know Your Meme page, but it was also a text meme that didn't have a specific image macro attached to it. There were images made, but because there wasn't a specific one, nothing major has survived to this day as an image to represent Don't Mess with Football. But it wasn't an insignificant meme. It got tons of play for weeks on the old sports board, which was in its final month of existence at the time, and on B itself. At one point, in flashing red text on B, Don't Mess with Football was added as an official rule of the board. And on a lot of those lists of old rules of the internet, you can find Don't Mess with Football on there. It's not one of the super established rules like 1, 2, 34, 35, or 63, but it's on there. I've seen it listed as either Rule 56 or Rule 84 when it's listed at all. But it is listed sometimes, and that's about the only place left that you can find Don't Mess with Football on there. It's like a healed scar on the internet where a meme used to be. Like, you'll notice that this is the actual, teleprompter bit from the news story that the quote was taken from, because this was the only place I could find and source the quote from legitimately. Now, I actually remember this meme really, really well because 17-year-old me, it was one of his favorite memes. He was posting it all the time back then. And this is one of the problems, one of the pitfalls with talking about the history of memes, is that it's really mostly an oral history at this point for a lot of them. Don't mess with football's not alone here. There were probably hundreds of memes that thrived in the disposable post ecosystem of 4chan back in the day, but never got a Know Your Meme page, never got an Encyclopedia Dramatica page, never made the leap to Twitter or Tumblr, and are now just kind of ancient forgotten relics. And I think that's kind of a shame. Do you have any favorite old memes that everyone else has forgotten about? Please tell me in the comments, because I'd like to remember more of these. Hey, guess what long gone meme showed up on my FYP again the other day? Gotta do a video on it now. Welcome back to the Meme Graveyard, where we dig up and discuss ancient memes. Today's meme is not actually old by meme standards, but it's absolutely ancient by TikTok standards, only about a month older than the merger between TikTok and Musical.ly. It's hit or miss. And for the record, I choose miss. The story behind the meme itself is actually pretty straightforward. Other people had posted the song to TikTok in its early days before it blew up, but we all know the video that actually did it. User Nyan Cosplay, who is still on this app and posting, shout out to her, made a strange dance to a weird song while dressed as Nico Yazawa of Love Live. And some combination of the weird song and the strange dance, and the fact that weirdos on the internet literally cannot keep their mouths shut if they find someone even vaguely androgynous, it got a zillion comments and the video blew up. I wasn't on TikTok yet in 2018, and this is what I would consider to be one of the first unavoidable memes of TikTok. Like, even though I wasn't on the app yet and didn't know much about its culture or its memes, this one was unavoidable. I knew about hit or miss. The other unavoidable meme of the time was this one, which I will not be making a video about. As early TikTok memes go, this was probably the most popular one, to the point where the user base of the app decided to do the hit or miss challenge, where people would go into public, seeking other TikTokers, and yell, hit or miss, hoping that someone would respond with, I guess they never miss, huh? Yeah, TikTok had its own version of the Tumblr shoelaces thing and the Reddit narwhal thing. Why do social media users always do this? But far more interesting than the meme itself is the song behind the meme, because it's not actually called Hit or Miss, it's called Mia Khalifa. Yes, that Mia Khalifa. Most famous, of course, for being in a Theo Baker soccer video. And I hear she did some other stuff, too. Yeah, it's a diss track against Mia Khalifa by the Atlanta hip-hop duo I Love Friday. And you may be wondering, why on earth was Mia Khalifa beefing with an obscure Atlanta rap duo? And the answer is, she wasn't. The song was made because the two members of the band fell for a fake prank tweet. A fake prank tweet. See, the woman of the group, who goes by the name Smoke Hijabi, posted a video to the internet of herself smoking in a hijab. Shocking news, I know. And then Instagram user Trash Pump, decided to post a fake tweet by Mia Khalifa admonishing her for making Muslim women and Islam look bad. Now, personally, if I were told that Mia Khalifa had dissed me on Twitter, there's a couple things that I might think to do. Number one, maybe check Mia Khalifa's Twitter to see if the tweet was real, or look up Mia Khalifa to see if she's Muslim, which she's not, or maybe just rub my remaining neurons together and think that maybe Instagram user Trash Pump isn't the best source. But I Love Friday didn't do any of those things. Instead, they wrote the worst diss track of all time. The song sounds awful, which isn't surprising. I've listened to their entire discography, and it all pretty much sounds like this. The song was produced by the band themselves, and the entire joke of the song is just, haha, you've been with a lot of men, over and over and over and over again. The song was so bad that Bad Baby came out against it. Bad Baby. How low can you possibly fall artistically to the point where Bad Baby is dissing you? And the part of the song that got popular isn't even like one of the main parts of the song. It's not one of the verses. Those are all forgettable. It's not one of the choruses, because that's just the words Mia Khalifa over and over again. No, it's this weird bridge interlude thing where I have to remind you, she rhymes Miss Ya with Miss Ha, and then rhymes both of those with Khalifa. Wiz Khalifa. They're not related. I don't know why she thought that was clever. And if you're wondering if this was somehow out of character for the band, the Mia Khalifa song, no, around the same time they released another diss track towards I'm Wo Vicky, who's an Instagram model that I've never heard of. It's mostly been wiped from the internet at this point, but if you look on YouTube, really, you can find it. I wouldn't recommend it, though. The entire joke of that song is, haha, you're autistic. Ow, the edge. Now, you might think that I Love Friday would have taken their big meme success and tried to turn it into more future success, and they did sign a deal with TikTok in order to license Mia Khalifa in exchange for their other music getting future promotion, but then they never released anything else. I Love Friday's only released one song since the EP with Mia Khalifa on it came out. It was released in 2021. It's only 2 minutes long, and it's not even worth the 2 minutes it would take to listen to it. Just trust me on that one, it's not worth your time. And TikTok didn't have the power over the music industry in 2018 that it does now, so it's not like Mia Khalifa even got super huge. They didn't become millionaires or anything off of it. Like, they're like 1/8 of a one-hit wonder. And that's only fair, really, because if you're the jerks who ruined a poor innocent woman's mentions for over a year because you fell for an Instagram bait tweet, then I'd say you won't be missed, huh? If you've never heard the song before and you have 3 minutes to spare and you hate yourself, you could always just listen to it. But there's probably better uses of your time, like, watching more Meme Graveyard videos or dropping a follow. Mwah! Nearly every place that you can post online these days comes standard with an animated GIF search bar, which allows you to find the perfect reaction GIF for any situation. But it wasn't always like that online. How did we get here? Well, you can thank one of the most popular Tumblr blogs of all time. Welcome back to the Meme Graveyard, where we dig up and discuss ancient memes. Today, what should we call me? Reaction images have been a staple of internet culture for about as long as images have been postable to the internet, especially on places like 4chan and internet forums. Emojis were only available to a certain subset of people in the 2000s, and emoticons, even the really good ones, can only take you so far. So it's long been a tool of the trade on the internet to have a big ol' folder full of reaction images to pull from so that you can let your online comrades know exactly what you feel about anything that they post. So how did GIFs take over from images in popularity? Well, the story begins on February 6, 2012, when you had two 24-year-old law students who were being separated by moving to different law schools, one in San Francisco and one in Washington, D.C. And to keep in touch, they decided to make a Tumblr blog. As far as I can tell, the two actual names of these women has never been revealed, which is their right. On this Forbes article talking about them, they were described as Princess Ariel and Michelle Tanner. Very millennial pseudonyms. Again, the reported use of the blog was for them to keep in touch across the country, but the way they chose to do so with the blog was kind of interesting. They would just post animated GIFs with relatable captions attached to them. This was the blog's very first post from its very first day, when my best friend and I decided we're not going out. I've got on my eating pants. The name of the blog came from a typo. One of them had typed to the other, "What should we call it?" and instead she typed, "What should we call me?" They both found that really funny, and the name stuck. Now, obviously, Ariel and Michelle did not invent the concept of using a GIF to react to text. That was already being done on 4chan and other places, and they didn't even make the first Tumblr blog dedicated to the concept. Of course, this James Vander Memes page, even though it was backed by Funny or Die, was never really that popular. They popularized animated GIFs as reaction images for the general internet public, because within the first month of them starting that blog, it had exploded in popularity. They got tens of thousands of followers and hundreds of thousands of reblogs within a month's time. In March, they started up a Twitter account to go with the Tumblr blog, and that also got tens of thousands of followers really quickly. They were being mentioned in newspapers, magazines, online interviews, including that Forbes interview that I posted earlier, which had this to say about them. Each joke is funnier than the next, and I often laugh so loud I wonder if my coworkers think I have emotional issues, which, the GIFs were well found and the posts were relatable, but I think that might be a little hyperbolic for what the blog was. We were all very easily entertained in the early 2010s on the internet. That's all I can say about that. Of course, with any internet success will come legions of imitators, and the what should we call me imitators were some of the worst in internet history. They were ferocious. There was a what should we call X for basically every major American city, and every pastime, every hobby, every occupation. There was a what should we call everything. By May, BuzzFeed had an article up calling the trend annoying, which, 2012 BuzzFeed calling something annoying. That's a pot kettle situation I can't even fathom. For a while, the hashtag WSWCM was used for pretty much any reaction GIF on the entire internet, but slowly and surely, the idea became more and more divorced from the blog, and then the blog ended. The Twitter stopped cross-posting from the Tumblr on December 14th, 2015. The Tumblr blog made its last post on November 30th, 2016. Interestingly, their Instagram, or at least this is the Instagram that's linked to on the blog, which posted completely different stuff from the Twitter or Tumblr, made one last post on January 21st, 2017, after 6 months being dormant. Okay. And honestly, I think they got out at the right time, because at that point when they got out of the game, reaction GIFs had already become such a mainstream part of internet culture that it had really started to lose its sheen. At the very least, the What Should We Call Me ladies actually had to put a little bit of effort into the blogs that they made. They had to source the GIFs themselves, and they had to come up with the relatable concepts themselves. They couldn't just type Michael Scott funny The Office into a search bar, so the magic's long gone. There's a list of like 50 reaction GIFs now that are considered tired millennial cliches, because they've been overused so much. But they certainly left a massive impact in their half-decade of blogging. By the time of the blog's end, they had 8,000 posts and over 13 million notes. And interestingly enough, the most popular post in the history of the blog was this one, which was the 5th to last one they ever posted. It was Pinkie Pie snorting, and the caption was, "When I get a runny nose." So they went out on top, too. Alright, so here's a little secret for everyone who made it to the end of the video here. I've been pronouncing it GIF instead of GIF on purpose this entire time, because I'm trying to bait engagement in the comments. I don't know if it's gonna work, but if anyone does fall for that, feel free to join me in pointing and laughing at them, alright? Hey, so you know this cat, right? You've seen this cat. He's a famous internet cat. And I bet you think that today's episode of this little meme revival show that I do is gonna be about that one meme that he's really well known for, right? Right? Nope, we're doing the other one. Welcome back to the Meme Graveyard, where we dig up and discuss ancient memes. Today, NEDM, which means this is the first Meme Graveyard video that's going to have a content warning on it. I'm not going to show any pictures or videos, obviously, and I'm not going to get into any graphic descriptions, but this video is going to feature some mentions of animal cruelty. You've been warned. So this is the famous British short-hair Happy Cat, a quite ironic name given what we're about to talk about. He's most well known, of course, for being one of the original lolcats, but his life on the internet actually began as one of the pseudo-mascots on the website for the Russian cat food company, Happy Cat, thus the name. Happy Cat was originally discovered and posted to Something Awful in 2003, and somehow the entire backstory of the cat is in question. Nobody seems to be able to agree on the actual IRL name and age of the cat, and even the name of the person who first posted the cat is kind of in question. Know Your Meme says that it was someone named Fancy Cat, the YTMND wiki says that it was someone also named Happy Cat, and I saw someone on the SA Encyclopedia say that it was a person named Happy Cat who changed their name to Fancy Cat. It doesn't matter, let's move on. On July 29th, 2005, a 15-year-old posted a mega upload link to the ogrish.com forums. If you don't know Ogrish, it was a shock site founded in 2000 that posted a lot of questionable content. It's the site that turned into LiveLeak, if that rings more of a bell for you. But even Ogrish did have some standards, and by the end of the day that link had been taken down because the mega upload led to a video of a live cat being set on fire and eventually perishing. After the link was taken down, the authorities were contacted, they traced it to a Belgian IP, and a $1,000 bounty was put out for any information on the perpetrator. Eventually, both the kid who posted the video and the grown man who committed the deed were arrested, and every link to the video possible had been taken down from the internet. But things don't really disappear from the internet if people don't want them to. A YTMND user by the name of Baron had saved the video and in April of 2006 posted a YTMND page that used footage of the video alongside of footage of Doom and music. The music track in question specifically was the one from the end of episode 3 where Doom Guy's pet bunny Daisy gets mangled by the Hellspawn. The video was taken down pretty quickly, as you'd have hoped, but not before a bunch of for the lulz types started spamming it with 5-star ratings and comments, which, 4chan got a lot of smoke back in the day for being the worst website on the internet, and I really feel like YTMND got away with something there, because, they were just as bad. One specific user named Titanium Gecko was very unhappy with this and started going to all the pages of the people who had 5-starred that video and started 1-starring all of their pages. One user named Spots responded to the 1-starring by saying that, well, they didn't actually condone cruelty, they just found the use of the bunny song really funny. And Titanium Gecko responded thus: "Okay, Spots, since you do not condone burning kitten, your sites have been 3'd until further notice. Still, nothing justifies 5ing burning kittens. Not even Doom music." NEDM. Sorry for the random cursor and the letters on the screen here, by the way. The only place I could find screenshots of this were from a NEDM investigation YTMND. A user named Mohibi is the one who turned NEDM from a catchphrase into a meme. There had been a couple of NEDM YTMNDs made before that, but they were all cryptic, just NEDM is coming, or people leaving NEDM in comment sections. This is the first site that actually turned NEDM into the meme that it became. It's a cat being pulled from a burning building by a firefighter who's telling him that it's okay, there's no doom music, asking if it wants chapstick. The sound is a text-to-speech voice saying NEDM, followed by a remix of We Interrupt This Program by Coburn. And two seemingly random choices in that site basically dictated the entire meme's future. The reference to chapstick somehow became a real big thing, and chapstick became mentioned in basically every NEDM meme afterward, and the inclusion of Happy Cat meant that Happy Cat turned into the meme's mascot. Like, you'd think that the mascot would have been this cat, but nope, Happy Cat won out. And if all that sounds just very random and nonsensical to you, then you won't be surprised to find out that NEDM really quickly just spiraled into becoming a non sequitur interruption meme. You know, you've got another video happening that's not NEDM related at all, and then all of a sudden, it's interrupted by Happy Cat, Chapstick, the NEDM sound, boom, out of nowhere. It's in the same kind of vein as a nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition meme, you know? Some old YTMNDers might tell you that NEDM is this really misunderstood meme because a lot of people know of the pretty awful origins of it, but it ended up really, really far away from it. The popular explanation for NEDM ended up becoming, well, not even doom music can get you a rating of 5 stars. I don't think it's misunderstood though, I've just never found it that funny in the first place. Maybe that's just me, I don't like random interruption memes. Also, NEDM actually happened a year before I Can't Has Cheeseburger, so this was kind of Happy Cat's first big meme. There's a universe out there somewhere where NEDM is what this guy's known for instead of I Can't Has Cheeseburger. Think about that if you want to imagine a universe even worse. Hey, did you know that if you're on the green screen filter and you take an object, like say a shoe, and you put it somewhere other than in front of your face, say here, it disappears? Because I certainly didn't know that when I wrote the intro to this one. Oops. Welcome back to the Meme Graveyard, where we dig up and discuss ancient memes. Today, Shoe on Head, not the YouTuber. Absolutely, dear God, not the YouTuber. And if you didn't know she was named after a meme, then congratulations, because you're about to learn more here than she's ever taught anyone in one of her awful videos. You're welcome! One of the big technological advances of the 2000s was that people moved away from dial-up internet and started getting faster and faster connections, which meant that data uploads and downloads were suddenly a zillion times faster. It no longer took 10 times the length of an album to download the album. It no longer took 30 seconds per pixel to download a bitmap file. And probably the most important piece of that technological advancement was the introduction of streaming video. Obviously, sites like YouTube and Google Video and Viddler and Dailymotion were the big pioneers of early streaming video, but like, we all know what the internet's actually for. That's right, camgirl sites. Spicy sites where a hot woman can sit there and be hot while men give her money for doing so. You probably know some of the old school ones like MFC or LJ, the J in this case being Jasmine, not Journal. The site's actually still up right now. This is a screen cap from it. I cannot believe this site is still up after 20 years. According to Wikipedia, they were even winning awards as recently as 6 years ago. They're Spicy Site Awards, so I don't know how much stock people actually take in them, but still, awards! No one's given me any awards. Of course, with any big opportunity on the internet, there will be scammers, and there was a pretty easy way to scam these sites. All you had to do was be a guy who acquired a video of a hot girl being hot, and just play the video, be in the chat pretending to be her, keep looping that video, and hope some desperate man falls for it and gives you money. So how do you combat that sort of scam? Easy. All you have to do is go into the chat and ask her to do something that she would never do in a looped video. For instance, putting a shoe on her head. A favorite activity of 4chan and related sites back in the 2000s was raids, where a coordinated group from one of those sites would get together, go to another forum or website, and cause general mischief and mayhem. On the evening of June 21st, 2006, a bunch of YTMNDers and 4chaners were in a Ventrilo server. I dare you to find a more mid-2000s sentence than that. Now, this group of internet ne'er-do-wells were reportedly going to do a raid on a white supremacy forum, but for some reason that plan got cancelled, and instead they decided to go to LJ and go model to model, asking the girls to verify themselves. It started by just asking them to put the keyboard up to the screen, but eventually turned into a bunch of put X on Y requests, most famously shoe on head. I think this, by the way, is a beautiful example of the completely random morals of channers back in the day. Like, alright boys, what are we doing tonight? Our choices are raid a white supremacist forum or harass women. Where are we dropping? What a website. Most of the models didn't actually speak English very well, so it was kind of a tough going for them at the start, but eventually some of the models ended up getting it. The first woman to actually put shoe on head was a Russian woman named Sharisa, and a popular YTMND was made by user Flying Laser Jesus of the event. Over the course of the week, more YTMNDs came, and more models were asked to put shoe on head, with the ultimate culmination coming with this woman, Sexy Lexi, who put, as you can see, far more than just a shoe on there. After about a week of doing this, there was supposedly a forum post made somewhere where LJ threatened legal action against YTMND because they were using their materials without permission. I don't know if that forum post ever actually exists. The details have been very murky, and if that forum post did exist, it's probably been lost to time somewhere. But that did kind of stop the trend in its tracks. People did keep doing it after. I personally have specific memories on B in 2008 of people doing shoe-on head raids for laughs, but it never quite hit that popularity again like it had that week in 2006. And now, 2 decades later, its only real lasting legacy is the username of a mediocre political YouTuber, which is about the legacy I think this one deserves, honestly. If I told you that there was an 8-letter word that would always, with 100% certainty, get you banned from 4chan, what would you assume that word was? Something terrible, right? Like some sort of illegal dog whistle, or like a slur so horrendous that you've never even heard it before, right? Nope. Welcome back to the Meme Graveyard, where we dig up and discuss ancient memes. Today, dsfargeg. I would go into pronunciations on that, but I don't think the word was ever meant to be said out loud. Here's something that you might not know. 4chan has moderators. Always has. I know that might surprise you given the everything that I'm sure you know about 4chan, but they've always been there. In fact, one of the biggest complaints by the mods of 4chan is that there aren't enough mods on 4chan. Now you might be thinking, why on earth would the internet's biggest hive of scum and villainy even need mods? But really, 4chan needs mods more than most websites, because given the clientele that use that site, you'll occasionally get, you know, illegal stuff being posted. So you gotta definitely have people around to take care of that. On most of 4chan's normal boards, like the sports board and comics board, and I'm using normal board by like 4chan logic there, keep in mind, the moderators and janitors work like they do on pretty much any other website. They get reports about things, they take a look at the reported items, they delete them if need be and ban the people. But it didn't work that way on B. On B, the mods can do whatever the hell they want. And of course that means that B posters, one of their favorite pastimes, was screwing with the mods. And what better way is there to screw with the mods than with forced meme spam? That is how we got dsfargeg. On April 10th, 2006, the mods on B were apparently having a little bit of fun and banning a bunch of people for spurious reasons. One person ban evaded and posted a picture of their original banning with the ban message that simply read dsfargeg, or dsfargeg. And that post was stickied after they got banned again. For some reason, someone posted the message again, this time with this picture attached of characters Gachapin and Muku from the Japanese kids show Hirake Ponkiki. If you're looking for any deeper meaning to the meme, there isn't any. Sometimes a nonsense post is just a nonsense post. Also, someone after that decided to write it in Cyrillic letters. That became a thing too, I don't know why. And as you can see behind me, the next day on the 11th, the entire front page of B ended up being sticky dsfargeg threads, with people being banned left, right, and center. And the meme never quite caught up to that initial burst on the 11th of April, but for many, many years afterward, it was still very common knowledge that if you posted dsfargeg in the picture, you were gonna get banned. Also, weirdly enough, if you Google search for dsfargeg, it will come up as a musical artist, and their Sonic Hits page has 20 different songs on it. Or rather, it looks like it has 20 different songs on it, but it's really just the same couple of songs over and over. This is the first song listed, and it's not an original music piece. It's the song Creator by a UK artist named Messiah, with a flash animation that's dsfargeg themed, made by a creator called Zone-sama. This is the second song, and it does actually appear to be something of an original work, or at least someone's original work, which was pasted into a YouTube video with a dsfargeg thing in it. And it uses a sample from, of all things, the 1978 song Automatic Lover by D.D. Jackson, which is a hell of a weird pull for a meme song from 2007. Like, if you've never heard that song, like... really weird pull. And among the other things listed there is You Can't Touch Mormon Jesus, which is just its own YouTube poop style meme of a Jesus cartoon with You Can't Touch This by MC Hammer playing over it. None of this makes sense, so it's not an actual musical artist. And you know, when I decided to do a dsfargeg video, I really wasn't expecting to have to look up obscure 70s music samples for research purposes. These are the choices that I've made with my life, so stay in school, kids, and don't get banned. You kids and your coconut tree memes. The presidential memes back in my day nearly got people sent to prison. Kinda. Welcome back to the Meme Graveyard, where we dig up and discuss ancient memes. Today we talk about the original presidential meme, the Obama Hope poster, along with the weird dude who made it. Most of the memes we cover on this show are from old school meme hubs like 4chan or Something Awful, YouTube, YTMND, but this is one of the rare examples of a meme that was spread mostly on social media by people who didn't even know what the word meme meant yet. It certainly wasn't the first normie meme in internet history, but it was one of the first big ones of the social media age. A lot of people at the time, and people probably still now, believed that the poster was actually an official part of the Obama campaign because the two were so indelibly linked, but no, it was actually by an independent artist at first. This is Shepard Fairey, a famous contemporary and street artist. He's 40 in this picture, and yet is wearing a t-shirt you'd expect to see on a 15-year-old Tumblr white boy. You'll learn throughout the course of this video he's kind of a weirdo. You can probably guess because he's in this video that he's the guy who made the Obama Hope poster, but he's been an active artist since the 80s, and I can guarantee you've seen at least one of his other works. Remember this? Yeah, that was him too. And if you didn't know, this face belongs to Andre the Giant, and this was originally a sticker campaign called Andre the Giant Has a Posse. He had to change that to the Obey Giant because he nearly got sued for using the name Andre the Giant. This will be a running theme. One thing to know about Fairey is that he is a progressive activist, although a lot of people in the past have questioned the efficacy of his activism, but that's a topic for another video. In 2008, like a lot of Gen Xers and millennials, he was pretty dazzled by future President Obama's campaign and decided, hey, I'm gonna make a poster for it. The Hope poster was not actually the first one made here. It was this Progress one, and you can see a little kind of signature from Fairey there. There's the little Obey Giant and the star in the corner there. He put several hundred copies of a print of this on his website with the expectation of selling out the line and giving the money to the Obama campaign. But it turned out to be so popular that the several hundred copies he had sold out in 15 minutes. Eventually, the campaign itself got involved, smelling a bit of success there, and they asked him to remove the Obey Giant from the star and replace it with the campaign logo and put in the word Hope, which gave us the final version that we all know. Now, this blew up on social media pretty immediately, not only because Obama was a popular candidate, but because it was one of the most obviously and easily parodyable things that the internet had ever seen. There are a whole lot of people on the internet for whom the first meme edit they ever made, probably before they even knew the word meme, was an Obama Hope poster. No matter what community you were a part of, there was an Obama Hope poster for you. Being a 4chaner at the time, I remember a lot of Joker ones being used at the time, and people still make parodies of it now, 16 years later. It was the first ever meme to lead a massive social media campaign for a presidential candidate, and it was pretty successful, because I don't know if you know this, but Obama won. And it was pretty successful for the artist too, until he got in trouble for it. Turns out that the picture that he more or less just traced into a stencil to make the poster from was by an Associated Press freelancer named Manny Garcia, and when Manny Garcia and the AP found this out, they wanted credit and compensation. And when Fairey found that out, he preemptively sued the AP in order to try and have some time to get his stuff covered as fair use. And if you're into dudes being massive windbags, you can read this way too long screed that he posted to his blog talking about the sacred righteousness of art and fair use, and which, he traced the picture into a stencil. That's what he did. The man's not on, Da Vinci levels of artistic integrity or anything here. But a few months later, it was uncovered that he had destroyed and fabricated documents in order to bolster his claims, and he later pled guilty to a charge based on that. He was facing 6 months of jail time, but instead he ended up getting away with 2 years probation, 300 hours community service, and a fine. Like I said, there's a whole other video that could be made about how Fairey is kind of a weirdo dirtbag whose ideals never seem to match up. Like the time he went to Denmark, made this piece, and then got beat up outside of a club because the local leftist community thought it smelled a little bit too much like government propaganda. You can see at the bottom that it got tagged with "Go Home Yankee Hipster." Love that. But I think the best showcase of his ideals is right here. A couple months before the AP incident happened, he tried to sue an Austin artist named Baxter Orr because he took the Obey Giant picture and made a parody of it with a SARS mask on it. You know, transformative work. Fair use for me, but not for thee. I personally cannot believe for a second that a progressive white man would turn out to be a hypocrite. It's never happened before in the history of politics. Rest in peace to a real one, man. Let's all share a succulent Chinese meal and talk about an Australian meme legend. Welcome back to the Meme Graveyard, where we dig up and discuss ancient memes. Today, I would kindly ask all of you to get your hands off my... Sorry, blacked out for a second there. Today we talk about Democracy Manifest, one of the most famous arrests in the history of the internet, and the man behind it. And if you haven't seen the video in question, go watch it now. It's a classic. This is Jack Carlson, born Cecil George Edwards, allegedly. It's kind of hard to tell with him, because he's got a hell of a backstory. Throughout his life, he was a career petty criminal, a painter, a playwright, a debater, an actor, and obviously, a man with a flair for meme-worthy drama. He's got a whole laundry list of aliases that he's used throughout his life, with Jack Carlson being the most famous. He also threw a bucket of poop on a prison guard once. I just couldn't find anywhere else in the video to sneak that in, but I love it. He was also a serial prison escaper. One time, after being locked up in one of Australia's worst prisons, he escaped by literally jumping off of a train during a transfer. He got 4 years after that for safecracking and was put on an island prison, and escaped from there by just walking away, keeping close to the shore so that the tide would cover his footprints, and staying out of sight for a few days until he found a person in a motorboat who was sympathetic and took him back to the mainland. One time he impersonated a cop and faked roughing up one of his friends so that he could just walk out of the prison with him. This guy's awesome. I highly recommend listening to this ABC podcast produced 2 years ago about his life that interviewed him and a bunch of other people involved, because I can only scratch the surface of this guy's entire backstory. Then one day on October 11th, 1991, he was eating at a Chinese restaurant in Brisbane and, well, you know the rest. And the reason why he was acting like that in the video, by the way, is because according to him, he was trying to make the cops think that he was crazy so that he would be sent to an insane asylum instead of prison, because it would be easier to escape from. What you might not know is that despite all the stuff he had done in the past, this was actually a case of mistaken identity. At least according to Carlson and the local media. The local reports were that the reason why there was so much media and police presence there is because they thought they were picking up one of Australia's most wanted criminals. The cop's story, for his part, is that he was actually wanted for a couple of things, including forgery and credit card fraud, and the reason why there were so many cops and media there is because a bank employee had been at the restaurant, seen Carlson was there, and just lied on his phone call in order to get them there quicker. Now, I don't know who to believe or how any of this stuff works, because I'm not a lawyer. If I was, I probably wouldn't be doing this with my life. I do love the fact that in an interview a couple years ago, he was actually asked about the credit card fraud thing, and his response was verbatim, "I would think international criminals wouldn't use credit cards." Which, fair point. And you'll be unsurprised to hear that once Carlson was actually taken in, he was able to talk the people there into letting him go, and then he never showed up to court and they never found him again. At least that was their story. According to his side of the story, he just posted bail and was let go, because again, mistaken identity. Either way, the clip remained pretty obscure until 2009, when someone named Russell Furman posted the clip to YouTube, and it wasn't an immediate viral smash success. It took about 10 years to reach 1 million views, but it did slowly and surely start gaining views over that time. And because of the manic and hilarious energy of the clip, YouTube editors really quickly picked it up and started making remixes and full-blown edits of it, and eventually it hit full-blown meme status. Of course, the problem was that for about a full decade after that, nobody knew who the guy in the video was. There was a long-standing theory that the guy in the video was a Hungarian chess master named Paul Charles Doja, who used to apparently be really famous for his dine and dashing exploits. No pictures of him exist on the internet, or at least very few do. I think this is him, because when you search his name, all the pictures are of Jack Carlson. But this guy apparently spoke in a very thick Hungarian accent, and he also didn't live past 2003, so it very clearly wasn't him in the video. Eventually, Carlson started getting recognized occasionally, and a few videos of him did start popping up on the internet, and then in 2020, Australian punk band The Chats made a video called Dine and Dash, where he made a guest appearance and finally revealed himself to the world fully. About a month ago, in a fun little internet moment, he finally got to have that succulent Chinese meal he was hoping for, alongside friends and one of the cops who originally took him in at the restaurant that the arrest happened in the first place. Unfortunately, the reason for that meal is because he knew he didn't have much time left. And yesterday, Jack Carlson finally lost the battle with cancer at age 82. Rest in peace to a legend. Ta-ta and farewell. You may remember the many times that Tumblr and 4chan have gotten into beef over the years, but do you remember the feud Tumblr had with Something Awful? Here's a test. Do you like Danganronpa? What's this character's name? If for even a moment you thought of the word Mono Bear, then this video is going to give you war flashbacks. Welcome back to the Meme Graveyard, where we dig up and discuss ancient memes. Today, the Danganronpa Let's Play heard around the world. So y'all obviously know what a Let's Play is. Watching people play video games for entertainment has been one of the most common and pervasive forms of media on the internet for over a decade now, and it directly led to the gaming live streaming industry, which now dominates the internet. What you might not know is that Let's Playing got its start on Something Awful. The first Let's Play threads, which were mostly screenshot-based, started showing up on Something Awful's Games forum in 2005. It became so popular that by 2007, an entire new subforum had been made for it, and it got even more popular from there. Now, because Something Awful is Something Awful, a lot of the people who were involved in early Let's Plays there were both extremely pompous about the whole thing, while simultaneously also just acting like it wasn't something to be taken seriously. There were a whole bunch of rules, written and unwritten, with old Something Awful Let's Plays. For instance, you weren't allowed to do videos of games that had just come out within the past few months, or any games that the moderators of the forums thought had been overdone. Face cams were heavily discouraged from videos. You also weren't expected to make any money doing Let's Plays because they were, quote, a pseudo-hobby at best, and your Let's Plays were generally expected to be equal parts informative and entertaining. And if you know anything about modern Let's Plays, you'll know that SA was on the wrong side of history on pretty much every one of those points. There was even a popular YouTube channel called Retsupre, where a lot of the old school Something Awful Let's Play goons would make fun of low quality YouTube Let's Plays. And fun fact, I did co-commentary on one of the videos on this channel in 2012. It's the exact point where the channel jumped the shark. In 2011, as Let's Play was reaching maybe its peak of popularity on Something Awful, a poster named Oren Ronin decided to start doing a Let's Play of a Japanese-only PSP game called Danganronpa. You may have heard of it. The series wasn't particularly popular yet outside of Japan, and because there were no English translations of the game available, the translation for this was just done in thread. It wasn't perfect, obviously, but it was the only game in town. And it quickly became one of the most popular Let's Plays in the history of the forum. Between the first thread and the Danganronpa 2 Let's Play that followed, there were over 1,000 pages of discussion, and people lost their minds for this Let's Play, calling the game things like intriguingly moe. This is why no one respects Something Awful users. In fact, it got so popular that the word started to leak off of Something Awful, specifically to Tumblr, which was full of, weeb teenagers. The sort of people who would go absolutely feral for a property like Danganronpa. And so it was. About 1 zillion Tumblr users started to read the Let's Play, fell in love with the game and the characters, and brought their own Tumblr-y level of discourse to the game. I looked through hundreds of pages of posts in order to find this one for the video. I hope you're proud of me. Unfortunately for those who only spoke English, the Let's Play was the only place that they could find Danganronpa content, and that was a bit of a problem, because Something Awful is pretty famously a paywalled forum. In order to start posting on Something Awful and get guarantee of all of its features, you have to pay $10. In terms of being able to read the forums, that was up to the whims of the administrators, who could put up and take down the paywall as they saw fit. Let's Play was one of the forums that was usually open to the public, because it was one of the biggest draws to get people into Something Awful. But this is a terrible comedy forum with some terrible administrators we're talking about, so what would be funnier in 2011 than getting 1 zillion Tumblr users hooked onto a Let's Play and then putting up the paywall so they couldn't see it anymore? That's exactly what Low Tax did, and all of the newly minted Danganronpa fans on Tumblr, who were mostly teenagers who couldn't pay the $10, were not happy. Now, it is tragically difficult to be able to find any of the posts from this era, not only because on Tumblr a lot of the stuff was hidden behind weird hashtags like Dang It Ron Paul, but because if Tumblr and Something Awful should have had a feud on anything, It's which website has the worst search function in the history of the internet. It's a wonder I was able to make this video at all. But there are videos up like this one by my man The Voice of Dog that have dramatic readings of a lot of the best Tumblr reactions from that period. Also, someone at one point bought a bunch of advertising on Something Awful that put banners on the site that contained a bunch of spoilers for Danganronpa 1 and 2, and people just got even more mad about that. It was a wild time. The paywall kept going up and going down and going up and going down. They got mad. The goons laughed. It was a whole thing. This war between Lotax and the Tumblrinas basically continued until the first Danganronpa Let's Play was done and archived, putting it somewhere where it couldn't be paywalled anymore and finally giving the people something to read. And then in 2015, the PS Vita got the first ever English translation of it, leading to English translations across the board, and the war was finally over. And everything was nice and harmonious in the Danganronpa fanbase ever since, right?